forms. I got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Teresa.
You're welcome.
We're going to spend the next 45 minutes asking and answering questions about the Enneagram. And as you know, the Enneagram is a theory of inquiry into ourselves, and it helps us figure out who we are and who other people are, and it zeroes in on our motivations. And so I'm going to be asking you a series of questions, and at the end, after about 45 minutes, I'm going to offer you a couple of types for you to look into and see which one fits you the most. All right? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Excellent. All right. So the first question is, give me 3 adjectives that you would use to describe yourself.
3 adjectives to describe myself. Oh boy. Fearful. This is a hard question.
I promise you there are no wrong answers. I promise you.
Adjectives to describe myself. Dependable. And responsible.
And now I'm going to ask you another question that you're going to love. Give me 3 adjectives that your friends would use to describe you.
My friends.
If you didn't like the first question, we're starting off well.
Committed. See, I think my friends would say I'm dependable.
Okay.
Nice. I hope.
There's no wrong answer. Okay. All right. How are you your worst enemy?
I think too much, too long, too hard about everything. I get bogged down, slowed down, stopped in my tracks in my head.
Can you tell me some more about that? Give me an example.
I can decide I'm going to do something and then talk myself out of it in my head. And all of this, literally, like I can decide, oh, I want to go to McDonald's, and before I get there, I will have talked myself out and turned around and gone somewhere home. So, an example.
That was an example.
Okay, I can give you another example, a current one if you want.
That works.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I have been contacted by someone asking them to do cupcakes. They contacted me on Tuesday and said, can you have them on Friday? And then this morning, she asked for a very specific, like, change. Like, she wanted flowers, now she wants something different. And, yeah, in my head, it was, I can't do this. This is why I'm not in business for myself. This is, I may have to tell her no. And it was just, it's time consuming, energy consuming, all consuming, and it in the past would have shut me down.
So let's switch gears and tell me, how are you your best friend?
I think I'm driven. I think I have survived or overcome because I'm a fighter.
Thank you. So how important is it for you to get the job done, Teresa?
Important to get the job done. That depends on if there are people judging me, if there are outside influences. It's very, very important. If it's just me or my husband or somebody, then it's not as much of a big deal. But if there's somebody that I feel is going to be judging me, then it will get done.
So what happens again if people slow you down mid-task?
Then I'm flustered. I'm frustrated. I don't do well, and that, yeah.
Does an example come to mind?
Slow me down mid-task. I hope this is a good example. I worked on Monday, and I had in my mind prepared to be part of the team for the whole day. We were going to be working on 2 different houses, and I would be with the team for the first house and with the team for the second house. And during the first house, maybe after the first hour, my boss told me that she was going to be sending me on to the second house. I had no mental preparation. I had no idea this was going to happen. She was sending me off by myself. Well, without her, there was a group of guys going with to move furniture and do some stuff with me, but I was in charge of them. And I was watching myself grapple with this. And it was, in the past, it would have been, I don't know that I would have been able to function. I don't know that I would have been able to go on. So that was difficult for me.
So you had to change gears mid-task.
Mm-hmm.
You were going in one direction mentally and physically, and then all of a sudden you had to change gears.
Mm-hmm.
And you were watching yourself do that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So how important is image to you?
Image, all in all, image is not that important, but for people to like me makes me feel secure. So if somebody doesn't like me, then I'm very insecure. But I don't care about what I look like, or if they don't, it's not about, like, it's more about me. If they don't like me because of something I'm wearing or think that I dress funny, but it's more about me at my core. Is that helpful?
Yes. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how competitive are you?
I can be competitive. I'm probably about an 8 in some circumstances, but I can also scale it back and do whatever. So it just depends.
So give me an example of a time when you were quite competitive.
Oh. Well, when Jim and I first got married, we were playing Scrabble, and I had the word elephant in my thing, and he used the letter that I needed to be able to put elephant down, and it stopped the game, and he refused to play Scrabble with me ever again because I was so mad. Yeah, I'm a sore loser. I have been, I can be a sore loser, but I also will change the rules of the game so that everybody can win.
So give you a board game and you let your competitiveness have free rein.
Well, we played Scrabble last night and I did better.
Okay.
It was hard because we were playing with Matea, and but yeah, I've had to learn. And when I'm playing with kids, then I will back off, way back off. But if an adult situation.
So how important is it for you to be recognized when you have accomplished something that you're proud of? Again, this is how much everybody, of course, wants recognition, but how important is that to you?
I want to be recognized by certain people, but it's the authority or the people that are important to me, but the rest of the people, it's not a big deal.
So, do you make decisions generally quickly, or do you labor over them?
Oh my gosh, I labor, It used to be just a decision by default,
Because,
where I wouldn't make the decision and that was the decision.
and,
So,
can you tell me more about that?
um, I just get, there's so many options and so many things coming in to try to make the decision, like to make the decision to do these cupcakes for this person. Do I accommodate, but I don't really have the time to accommodate? And so I just want to shut down and I just want to, but I can't say, I feel bad saying no. And I feel bad putting my parameters around what I can do. So yeah, it's difficult. There's just so much coming in. Well, if this were or if I just did this, or if I just had, or if I stayed up all night long, then I could do this. If I suffered or sacrificed myself, then I could give these people what they want. And am I willing to do that? And am I willing to say no? Again, risking somebody not liking me or being frustrated or.
So would you say that you scan the environment for danger?
All the time.
Can you tell me what you find?
Danger. That is what I find. I tend to see the negative stuff. I tend to see equations, and I tend to see, oh, this plus this equals this, and I just tend to see the downside of the proposition. So
that takes a lot of energy.
a lot of energy.
So am I hearing that it's important to you to plan things out?
Yes.
And can you tell me when that worked for you?
When it works for me, I find it works all the time. And everything. Well, most everything, because it's not always practical. But I do feel so much better when I'm prepared, when I've planned for what to expect, then I do better, I perform better, I feel better.
Yes. Right. And so when you're given a job of doing cupcakes and things don't, no unexpected, you plan all the ingredients, the time, the process, so you plan things out so that you can deliver. And so when you plan things out, you enjoy the task. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. And I plan for the bumps, I plan for the bad batches, I plan for the mistakes.
Right.
I plan for all of that, so that when it does happen, I'm ready.
Yes. So tell me about conflict. When you have conflict with someone, how does that feel?
I don't like conflict. I don't like, it makes, it rattles my core when I feel, somebody is mad at me or I have done something or they have done something. Everything is up for grabs. There is no more stability underneath me.
Mm-hmm. So, what about conflict is that you don't like?
Conflict means that something may change, that my relationship may change, or I may lose the relationship. That's usually the biggest thing is, if they're mad at me, they don't like me, they won't be my friend or my daughter or my husband or so.
So it puts you into the world of the unknown.
Yes.
And so when you can't plan it out and when it's unknown, then you feel what?
I feel scared, I feel unsupported or unbalanced, out of balance.
So do you find yourself easily distracted normally?
Easily distracted normally. No. I can stay focused pretty much.
And would you say that you hold your own easily?
Yeah, I think so.
And would you say that normally you pretty much know what you want?
No. I have a difficult time figuring out what I want.
An example?
To eat. That's the biggest. There's other things, what I want for myself, goals, but the biggest thing in my life right now is food related. What do I want? Because I'm at a place where if I don't want it, I don't want to put it in my mouth. Or I want it to be meaningful what I'm eating, and I want it to be enjoyable and good. So it's hard to figure out. I'm always thankful when I have a craving or have, I just want this, because it's it's difficult. It really, that's something to dream. That's just something that is difficult for me.
So, Teresa, what is it like for you when you make a mistake?
Earth shattering.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult because it rattles me at my core, making me believe, oh, you're not good enough. Oh, see, you're not perfect. You're not special. You're not worthy.
Okay. Tell me about a time when you made a mistake.
Time when I made a mistake. The first thing that comes to mind is my first thing I broke on my new job. We're working with vases and vases and art and knickknacks and trinkets, and I broke. It was a glass, I think to me it looked like a glass, but it had a flower in it, so it must have been a vase or something. And it was ugly, and it wasn't even to me. I'm not an interior decorator, so I'm trying but I broke it, and it was the customer's. It slipped out of my hand when I was putting it down, and it dropped and broke, and I was just waiting to be fired or waiting to have to pay for it out of my check, or yeah, it was.
So you felt.
I just felt crushed. Just terrible. Like, oh, they can't trust you. Untrustworthy. If you're gonna break stuff, you can't work here. You can't. So.
And so did that stay with you for a long time?
A long time. Yeah.
So this strong inner critic that we have, how strong is yours, and how verbal is it? How aggressive is it?
Pronounced. It's better, but it really is what has driven my life for a very long time. It really was the only option for a long time.
And so do you sometimes feel harassed?
Yeah, all the time. Well, not as much, but yeah. It's never nice. It's never encouraging or caring or,
So when others are irresponsible, what is that like for you?
So very frustrating. When the stuff that they're doing is affecting me, so very, very confusing, very, very frustrating.
And so you feel?
I feel, it makes me feel, for example, when people, when I go into a parking lot, I park in between the white lines because that's what you're supposed to do. And when people don't do that, they park on the edge of the store, and so I have to walk around their car to get into the store because they're special. They can park wherever they want. It really does make me feel less than and not special. These people think they're special, so they can park wherever they want, and it makes me feel, I guess, just unvaluable.
So at the end of the day, do you notice what went well, or do you notice what went wrong?
Mostly what went wrong. I'm working on that one to where now I journal every day, and I try to take a picture every day and to highlight the good, because before even the bad negated the good, so there really wasn't good. It was just all the bad, because you can't have both, or couldn't have both. So now it's better, where I'm purposely trying to look for the good. But it definitely is a conscious effort to do that.
Okay, so even if you notice both the good and the bad, that did not equal a balance to you. That meant that was not enough.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So for you, is the best always out of reach?
Always.
Always.
Always. Because again, it's never going to be perfect, and so the bad will bring down the best, or it just is never an option, because it's never going to be the way it's supposed to be or exactly perfect.
So tell me, how do you deal with feelings of sadness?
Feelings are hard. Sadness. It's hard to not go there without even being depressed, but I don't want to be depressed. So all feelings are difficult, really. But sadness is one. For the longest time, I always said, I don't do death. I just don't do death. I just don't. And for the longest time, I also didn't know what it felt like to miss somebody, like to miss my mom or my husband or my kids. I didn't know what that felt like.
Okay, so you just sort of sidetrack feelings of sadness.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does that mean that, what about feelings of longings? Was that sidetracked as well, or?
Oh yeah.
So you just avoided that world. It's sort of, well, you just, on some level, avoided the world of feelings.
Yes.
Okay. So, what is ordinary like for you?
Ordinary life, what's ordinary life? It is planned and methodical and organized
Okay. So it is good.
and structured.
Organized, planned, structured. So when you do all that, you get ordinary, and so ordinary is good.
Yes.
And tell me about ordinary. What else is it? Good and
Hopefully enjoyable.
good and enjoyable. What do you do when things are relaxed and enjoyable and planned and structured?
Rest.
Okay.
Then I can function. I can work out, and I can take care of myself, and I can take care of my kids, and I can.
Okay. Sounds good. So, do people ever tell you that you're too intense?
Yes.
And what is that like?
It was very confusing at first. I didn't necessarily understand or agree, but it's good for me to be aware when I'm feeling intense. Then I know, okay, I need to back off or take a break or walk away for a minute, as to not spew or throw up my intenseness all over everybody else.
So is part of that intensity a focus?
Usually it's a frustration, or a belief, or an understanding that this plus this equals this, and everybody's
Yes.
disagreeing or doesn't want to.
So the equations that you have, people are not fitting into those equations. And so when they don't fit into those equations, there's something inside of you that says, no, you need to fit inside of my equations. Is that what I'm hearing
No,
that?
if I'm trying to, if somebody is going to do something and I'm going to say, okay, but if you do this, then this is going to happen,
Uh-huh.
and they don't believe me or care,
Okay. Well, that's what I'm saying. They don't
Yeah.
fit into your equation.
okay, they don't buy in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that causes you to ratchet up and get intense because your world's rattled. Is that the word
Yes.
you used?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So moving right along, how good are you at knowing your own needs?
I am not.
And
I am better.
does that go along with not feeling your feelings?
Yeah.
Okay. And does that go along with you trying to figure out what you want to eat?
Yeah.
And so being aware of your own needs is something that you are aware that doesn't come natural.
Right.
Okay. So how comfortable are you at receiving help?
It's difficult because when people help, they do it their way, which in the end may cause more work for me. Um, but I'm getting better at that. It's difficult, even more difficult for me to ask than it is to receive.
Yes. And part of that might be if you might have to go along behind, then again, this might mess up your plans. That's part of it.
Right.
Okay. So tell me about when you are alone. What is that like?
It's quiet. Most of the time when I'm alone, it's distracting. It's to distract, or I distract, or
So you
well,
avoid being
that's
alone?
not true. Okay, so let me think. It's usually filled with tasks, and then there are times when I will just sit down and watch TV or play a computer game or something like that. So, but the majority of the time is filled with to-do lists.
So is it easy for you to set boundaries?
No.
Tell me about that.
Setting boundaries with these cupcakes, very difficult because she may not like me anymore. She may not want to be my friend. I still have to go to church with this person. Setting boundaries with my mom. She may get mad at me. She may not, not like me. She may start screaming at me. Very difficult.
So it makes you feel?
Unlovable. Makes me feel mean. Makes me feel like a failure as a friend or a daughter or
So talk to me about control.
I can be controlling, manipulative to get things the way that I want them, or to get people to buy into what makes me safe and secure. Yes.
So do you consider yourself a person of strong opinions?
Yeah.
And give me an example.
Oh gosh. Strong opinions. I've come so far. I mean, I used to have had all of my opinions and my beliefs, and they were black or white, and mine were right, and yours were wrong. Example of opinions. I guess the only thing I can think of is Christmas. I'm very traditional. I'm very Christmas starts the day after Thanksgiving, and so it's very like, this is the way that I do it, and this is the way we are going to do it, and this is so that's the only thing. I really have worked really hard at backing off on my opinions and realizing, because at the core what it does is shake me and make me feel wrong, and if I'm wrong then I'm not secure, I'm not good, I'm not So just realizing that is that people can have different opinions and that it doesn't affect me.
So talk to me about anger, Teresa.
I don't do anger. That's a feeling.
That's right. That's right.
So yeah, I really am not an angry type person. But I don't feel like like I'm gonna explode. So somehow I have managed to sidestep without it affecting me too badly.
As far as you're aware.
Yeah. In the past, I would have exploded, and
So you have exploded before.
yes, yeah.
And so if you experience anger, it's there is no anger, nothing, but all of a sudden you explode. Is that what I'm hearing?
In the past, no. Now, actually, anger is probably the one because it's the easy. I think it's easy.
Yes.
So when I'm feeling angry, then that's the signal to me to start. Okay, what's going on? What are you thinking? What are you afraid of? And if I can, and then I usually take some time and process through that and work through that.
And
So, but it's not really. I don't know what anger feels like. It's more of a boiling or something happening internally that I'm watching myself tense up and like okay, so we need to go away and we need to take some time and work through this. So it's usually more of a secondary reaction from fear.
Okay. And so when you note your body tensing, then instead of ignoring that sensation, which in the past would have been ignored, and eventually some kind of outburst. Now you are paying attention to those tensions that arise, and now you're processing it, and it keeps anger from happening. It usually tells you of something that's going on that's fearful. Is that what I'm hearing you say? Okay. All right. So, how do you react to injustices?
Injustices are hard for me. I really have this ingrained life should be fair kind of thing. So they just kind of quietly tug, like gently tug. It's hard because I have a very tender heart and I really want things to be fair for everybody.
And give me an example where you notice that.
Especially with kids.
Yeah.
Anything parenting or playing games, I hate that you have to win or lose. That's not nice to me. I really do despise that.
Interesting. So give me an example of a time when you responded to children that way, where your justice towards children.
I have a family with children involved, and one of the daughter, the same age as my daughter, was just the dynamic of the family was just a mess, and she wanted to come stay with me, and so with her mother's permission, we let her come stay just to try to help. I mean, my first and foremost is the child, and if things are not looking like they are going to be safe for the child, then if I can, then I will. And I did. So she lived with us for a while until she went to be with her dad.
So I'm hearing that there has been a time in your life when you tended to be all or nothing. Is that true?
Yes.
And I'm also hearing that you're saying that you're aware of that and that you're working on ameliorating that. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So talk to me about privacy, Teresa.
Privacy is not something that comes natural to me. I don't know if it wasn't to my mom really either. So I don't know if that was not a learned thing, but I am terrible at talking about situations in private or like without naming people. I am just horrible because I don't care. Like, I don't mind if people use me as an example or process things about me, because I want them to.
Uh-huh.
And so I don't, I've had to learn to give myself privacy, and I've had to learn to give others privacy and be respectful, both me and them.
Right.
And so that is something only in the past year maybe that I have really come to a place of, you can do this for, if not for you, for them.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So,
So if you had to identify yourself as an observer or a participator, which camp would you land in?
observer.
Observer. So tell me about that.
It's so much easier for me to just hang on the outside and watch and analyze what's going on, why is it going on, who's doing what, and then I want to figure out why. If I understand why everybody's doing what they're doing, then it's easier for me. But it's much easier for me to be on the outskirts than be in the middle. I can be a doer, but I prefer to be an analyzer and a one-on-one or a small group.
So if do people tend to drain your energy, or do they give you energy, or
Drain.
it drains your energy? And so tell me what that feels like.
It's exhausting, and it's helpful to know that when you start realizing that you can give yourself time to recuperate, regenerate. But it's not easy.
So then when you figure out that people drain you, then what I'm hearing you say is you don't judge yourself anymore for being drained.
Yeah.
When you understand that kind of thing is just part of being human.
Yeah, but it's hard because it's not normal. It's just not our culture, I don't think.
Yeah.
So it's not always in the forefront of my mind of, oh, you were just drained by a bunch of people.
Yeah, yeah. So talk to me about self-sufficiency.
I could be probably a poster child, or could have been. I really set out, and somewhere in life or maybe I was born that way, I don't know, I set out that you just have to do it on your own. That's the only way that you're going to survive, is if you do it on your own. And so that's kind of how I set about life of being self-sufficient.
So would you describe yourself as an optimist or a pessimist?
A pessimist.
A pessimist.
Yeah.
So does this have to do with what you were saying, that you scan the environment and look for danger and plan? Is this part of that?
Yeah, and definitely then I just see the negative. I just naturally see the downsides, and the downsides destroy or have the potential. They really, for a long time, just totally negated the positive. So,
So when you set out to do a task, do you tend to complete it?
yes.
And we were talking about emotional pain before, and you said that for the longest time you just didn't feel it. And so the emotional pain is a new area that you are willing to explore. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
And, okay. So when something happens, some people put a positive spin on everything that happens. Is that something that you find yourself doing?
No.
Yeah.
I would hurt myself trying to figure out how to do that. No, but there are people that do that who used to be very scary to me, but I appreciate them now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So, Ms. Teresa, we have gone through and covered almost all the questions that I had planned for us today. And I'm going to give you some feedback and tell you what I've been hearing, and then you tell me what you're thinking as well. The types that I'm hearing very strongly are the 1s and the 6s. And the themes that keep on coming up is security, plans, predictability, order, and then you use the word equations and black and white thinking and a lot of thinking. And so the ones and the sixes are very dependable people. They're the wonderful backbone of so much. They get things done, they plan things out, and they're so dependable, and they're so responsible, and they're so wonderful. And so what that means is then in ferreting out the difference is the ones are part of the 891 triad, which is the gut triad, and they are responsible because they have a standard inside of them that they need to adhere to. And that's the motivation. Again, we were talking about how the Enneagram is a motivation detector. So that's their motivation. And the sixes are in the 5, 6, 7 triad, which are the mind people. And whatever they do for safety and security. And so then it's a matter of me or you going in and figuring out, am I doing what I'm doing? Am I dependable and responsible and plan things out? Am I doing it because I have a gut reaction and a standard inside? Or am I doing it because I'm approaching life through my head and I want safety and security? And so when you figure those two out, then what will happen is then you can figure out where you go when you are stressed and where you go when you are secure. I am hearing, Teresa, I'm hearing the 6, which is the linchpin of the 5, 6, 7 head triad. And so talk to me about that. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely in my head.
More than in your gut?
More than my gut.
And
I am definitely a safety security.
Safety secure person.
Mm-hmm.
So these people, again, bless their hearts, they're the shock point is what they're called of the safety and security. So that means this is very important, safety and security is. And so sometimes when you are aware of that, then it helps you understand why you do what you do. When you, again, you have mentioned the fear factor. And so sometimes when you're aware that you're subconsciously afraid, you can literally relax around that fear. And instead of trying to tell yourself, I shouldn't be afraid, you can just relax around your fear. So again, this is how the Enneagram aids us in self-inquiry and aids us in knowing ourselves, relaxing around other people, and relaxing around ourselves. So what are you thinking about that?
Yeah. With the cupcake situation, I think the first thing that I realized was, oh, you're feeling guilt. Oh, okay, that's right. You feel guilt. Okay, so this is just the guilt that you're always going to feel. And so now you have a choice to move forward and set the boundaries that you want and know that you have no control over what happens. Or you can not set the boundaries and feel the guilt and respond to the guilt and stay up all night trying to figure out how to give them what they want in this short amount of notice. And you have a choice to make. And so, it's very helpful to know, oh, this is the fear, okay. So you're always going to feel the fear. So now you have a choice to respond to it or to help yourself with it.
Right. So when we're secure in safety and security, then that means that we are prone to fear. And so you were aware